जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna and welcome back. Thank you for joining. Today we are discussing verse number 28 of chapter number 2 from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And in the previous verse, verse number 27, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that one who has taken birth is sure to die. As we see in this diagram, very nice picture showing that a person who has taken birth is gradually dying in this place. And then Krishna says, and after the death one is sure to take a birth again. So this living entity who has died here, the soul takes another form, another birth. So therefore Krishna is saying, in the discharge of your duty, you should not actually lament. So this taking of birth and dying and again taking birth, so this is unavoidable situation and one must perform their duty and should not lament on this transition that is going to happen for sure. And in the current verse, verse number 28, Krishna explains to Arjuna. Let's see the verse. Chapter 2, verse 28. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidanani eva tatra ka paridevana. So the translation is, all created beings are unmanifested in the beginning, manifest in the interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what is the need? So what need is there for lamentation? So let's understand the Sanskrit terms. So first Krishna is saying that avyakta adini bhutani. So adini means in the beginning and bhutani means all the created beings. So what happens to all the created beings in the beginning? They are avyakta. Avyakta means they are in the unmanifest state. The process of birth is that the semen of the father comes in contact with the ovum of the mother. But before this combination happens and the formation of the embryo that takes place, the created being is in unmanifest state. We do not see the physical body. Then what happens is line B. Vyaktya vyakta madhyani bharata. So O Bharata, Bharata means Arjuna. So Bharata meaning is Arjuna is in the in family lineage of Maharaj Bharat, or is a descendant of Maharaj Bharat. So therefore he is called as Bharata over here. Like for example, Krishna, one of the name of Krishna is Vasudev because he is son of Vasudev. So similarly over here, Arjuna is being called as Bharata because he is in the line, or he is the descendant of Maharaj Bharat. So Krishna is telling to Arjuna that Vyakta Madhyani Bharata. So Madhya is in the middle. So in the middle, O Bharata, what happens? Vyakta means they manifest. So in the middle, the created being is in the manifest state. So all the created beings, they get a body, and when they get the body, gradually the body will grow. So that is the manifested state of that particular soul. And then what happens is line C, that is avyakta nidanani eva. So nidanani means when vanquished or when destruction or death happens. What happens at that time? Again it becomes avyakta. Avyakta means it is again become unmanifest. So the nature of the body is, it is unmanifested in the beginning, then it manifests in the middle, and again it gets unmanifested at the end. So here we see a nice picture showing that there is the body. Before this body was there, we couldn't see it, but in this current picture we see that when the person dies, the body will be vanquished or destroyed, or the death will happen, and then the person will become unmanifest again. So However, that is not true for the soul. Soul is eternal. So body is temporary, it is unmanifest in the beginning, and then it manifests in the middle, and then it becomes unmanifest again. However, the soul continues its journey, and soul is eternal. So in this journey, then Krishna is saying the last line, which is Tatra ka paridevana. Tatra ka paridevana means therefore. What is the need of lamentation? What is the need of lamentation on this particular cycle that is going on? Right? So currently the body of Bhishma and Drona are manifest state, and when they are dead, then the body will be in the unmanifested state. But the soul will continue. However, the soul will later manifest in some other body. So what is the use of lamentation? So this cycle of manifest, unmanifest and manifest state keeps repeating endlessly. And therefore Krishna is saying that perform your duty. Do not be, do not lament over this situation, and you perform your duty. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada has to explain in the purport. So Prabhupada says, no cause of lamentation. So accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul and other not believing in the existence of the soul. So these are different, categories of philosophers. Some believe in soul, some do not believe in soul. And Prabhupada is saying there is no cause for lamentation in either case. Non-believers in the existence of the soul are called as atheists by the followers of the Vedic wisdoms. So people who accept Veda, who believes in the word of Veda, they are called as theists. And the non-believers are understood as atheists. We discussed this term in the previous sessions. Yet, even if for argument's sake we accept the atheistic theory, that there is still no cause for lamentation. So this has been discussed in the previous verse also, and the verse before that if Krishna gives this Buddhist philosophy where the soul takes birth and the soul is vanquished at the death, so that situation means the body is just combination of chemicals. So what is the use of lamenting over when the chemicals are destroyed? So that kind of theory also Krishna gave, and is putting different points of view to explain Arjuna that there is no cause of lamentation. Then Prabhupada is talking about stages of material creation. So this material creation, this material world is also created and destroyed. So it was unmanifest before, and then it manifests for a certain period of time. And that certain period of time is the entire life of Brahma. And then again, after the death of Brahma, the entire creation is destroyed. And then again it is manifested. So this thing, that unmanifest and manifest cycle, is actually also applicable to the creation of this material universe. So it is unmanifest in the beginning, then it gets manifested. But when it gets manifested from this stage, it is there are various things that happens, and that is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. But in short, Prabhupada is explaining that from either air comes from air, fire comes from fire, water comes, and from there earth comes, and many varieties of creation comes after this, and then everything is manifested, and then finally the entire creation is annihilated. So before this material creation, when after the annihilation, what happens is the things are in his unmanifested state. So let's read what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before the creation. From this subtle state of non-manifestation comes manifestations, just as from ether, air is generated, from air, fire is generated, from fire, water is generated, and from water, earth becomes manifested. So these are little complicated descriptions over here. How these things are generated this is explained more in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? But over here, just to let us know or give us a understanding that even this unmanifest to manifest state, The entire material creation has to go through that, and then it happens in different stages. And in one of the stage, this things happens. Just from ether, air is generated, and from air, fire, and so on. And then we see the material world, which is the things around us. That is the material world, and that is in its manifested form. We are seeing right now, but at one point of time it was an unmanifested state. Then Prabhupada gives an example for us to understand, and the analogy is, from the earth many varieties of manifestation takes place, and they give the example. Take for example a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. So when the building is built, tall buildings are built, generally in the downtown area, we see that there is a piece of land, and then there was nothing on the piece of land, and then gradually from the engineers work on the piece of land, and then they start building, the construction starts happening, and then after some time we see a skyscraper building. But earlier, before that building existed, it was just a land. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. Take for example a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, when this building is broken, then what happens? The manifestation becomes again unmanifested, and the remains as atom in the ultimate stage. So when they break the building, then we don't see that building, but still those elements which were used making that building is there in a different form, in the form of atoms. So therefore the law of conservation of energy remains, but in course of time things are manifested and unmanifested. That is the difference. So this is a nice example to understand that how things comes into existence, and then eventually it is destroyed, and again it comes into existence. So these are the different stages of unmanifestation and manifestation, and then later again unmanifestation. So this is a cycle. So Prabhupada says no cause of lamentation in either stage. Then Prabhupada is saying, then what is there for lamentation, either in the stage of manifestation or in unmanifestation? So when things are manifested, we still don't lament. Then why should we lament at the time of unmanifestation? So somehow or other, even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the beginning and at the end, all elements remain unmanifested, and only in the middle are the manifested. And this does not make any real material difference. So the matter remains as it is, but it is transformed from one form to another form. And then Prabhupada says about no lamentation based on the understanding of Bhagavad Gita. And if we accept the Vedic conclusion as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, that these material bodies are perishable in due course of time. Antamante ime deha. This is one of the verse we read earlier, or we studied earlier. But the soul is eternal. Nitya shukta saririnaha. Then we must remember always that the body is like a dress. Therefore, why lament the changing of the dress? It's like, one of the verses says that, changing body is just like changing dress. So when the dress become old and unusable, then we change the dress. So similarly, the body is changed at that time by the soul. Similarly, the example of the building. If the building becomes unusable, then what they do, they break the building and then they create a new building, or make a new building there. So what is there to lament? The material body has no factual existence in relation to the eternal soul. So the material body has no factual existence means it is there, but it is temporary. It is there for a very short period of time in compared to the eternal soul. Eternal soul is always there. It's always existing. Then the example is given as a dream, or analogy of a dream. It is something like a dream. In a dream, we think of flying in the sky or sitting on a chariot as a king. But we wake up and we see that we are neither in the sky nor seated on the chariot. So in dreams, we see many things. And when we are in the dreams, it appears to be factual. We are experiencing that. But is it real? No, it is not real. It is temporary. It's basically, it's just giving us a feeling that it is real, but it is actually a dream. So similarly, the real thing is when we take the example of this dream, the real thing is when we are awake. That is a real thing. The dream is temporary, or can be also considered as false. So similarly, the real thing is the soul, and the temporary manifestation of the soul are different bodies. In the current body, we may have human body, but later on we can have any kind of body from the 8,400,000 species of life. So the soul is actually eternal, and the soul is important. That's where the person needs to focus on the soul. And finally, Prabhupada says about Vedic wisdom. The Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization on the basis of the non-existence of the material body. So the whole Vedic wisdom is actually encouraging self-realization. Self-realization is nothing but realizing that the self, or we are actually soul. And what, on the basis of that understanding, then what is our duty on the platform of soul? That is more important. That is considered as more important. And the knowledge which we get is by reading the scriptures. And in particular, this Bhagavad Gita reveals all this knowledge about self-realization. It talks about who we are, what is our relationship with the Lord, how it is broken, and how to re-establish that relationship and live eternally a blissful life rather than suffering in this temporary material body. So that is the process of self-realization, and that's why we study all these scriptures, and we scrutinizingly study and then gradually apply these principles given in the scriptures in our life, and we become gradually self-realized. So the first step is understanding our relationship with the Lord, who we are, what is our relationship with the Lord, why are we suffering in this world. So this is called as Sambandha Gyan. This is a knowledge. Sambandha means it is talking about our relationship. So that's what we are currently studying in Bhagavad Gita, that we are not this body, we are eternal soul. We are not going to die at the end of this life. When we leave this body, we are going to continue our journey. So we need to focus on that eternal soul. So that is the Vedic wisdom. Therefore, in either case, whether one believes in the existence of the soul or one does not believe in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation for loss of the body. So this is the point. Krishna is driving home this point, that do not lament in different ways. Krishna is telling to Arjuna from last 4 or 5 verses is saying, and he's continuing to say this and in the next verse also actually. And it's very important that the living entity should not focus on lamentation, because it's actually sheer waste of time, and then rather focus on something that is eternal, and that will be helpful to us to realize ourselves. So all the points discussed in this verse is put in this presentation format. You can study details, and then we'll continue with the discussion in the future verses. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol.